Nikola Tesla, July 10, 1856 to January 7, 1943, was a Serbian-American engineer, futurist, and inventor. He is known for his contributions to the design of the modern alternating current (AC) electricity supply system. Born and raised in the Austrian Empire, Tesla first studied engineering and physics in the 1870s without receiving a degree. He then gained practical experience in the early 1880s working in telephony and at Continental Edison in the new electric power industry. In 1884, he immigrated to the United States, where he became a naturalized citizen. He worked for a short time at the Edison Machine Works in New York City before he struck out on his own. With the help of partners to finance and market his ideas, Tesla set up laboratories and companies in New York to develop a range of electrical and mechanical devices. His AC induction motor and related polyphase AC patents, licensed by Westinghouse Electric in 1888, earned him a considerable amount of money and became the cornerstone of the polyphase system, which that company eventually marketed. Attempting to develop inventions he could patent and market, Tesla conducted a range of experiments with mechanical oscillators/generators, electrical discharge tubes, and early X-ray imaging. He also built a wirelessly controlled boat, one of the first ever exhibited. Tesla became well known as an inventor and demonstrated his achievements to celebrities and wealthy patrons at his lab, and was noted for his showmanship at public lectures. Throughout the 1890s, Tesla pursued his ideas for wireless lighting and worldwide wireless electric power distribution in his high-voltage, high-frequency power experiments in New York and Colorado Springs. In 1893, he made pronouncements on the possibility of wireless communication with his devices. Tesla tried to put these ideas to practical use in his unfinished Wardenclyffe Tower project, an intercontinental wireless communication and power transmitter, but ran out of funding before he could complete it. After Wardenclyffe, Tesla experimented with a series of inventions in the 1910s and 1920s with varying degrees of success. Having spent most of his money, Tesla lived in a series of New York hotels, leaving behind unpaid bills. He died in New York City in January 1943. Tesla's work fell into relative obscurity following his death until 1960. When the General Conference on Weights and Measures named the International System of Units, SI, measurement of magnetic flux density, the Tesla, in his honor. There has been a resurgence in popular interest in Tesla since the 1990s. Early years. His rebuilt birth house, parish hall, and the church where his father served in Smiljan, Croatia. The site was made into a museum to honor him. Nikola Tesla was born into an ethnic Serb family in the village of Smiljan, within the military frontier, in the Austrian Empire, present-day Croatia, on July 10, 1856. His father, Milutin Tesla, 1819 to 1879, was a priest of the Eastern Orthodox Church. His father's brother Joseph was a lecturer at a military academy who wrote several textbooks on mathematics. Tesla's mother, Georgina Dukamandic, 1822 to 1892, whose father was also an Eastern Orthodox priest, had a talent for making home craft tools and mechanical appliances and the ability to memorize Serbian epic poems. Duka had never received a formal education. Tesla credited his eidetic memory and creative abilities to his mother's genetics and influence. Tesla was the fourth of 5 children. He had 3 sisters, Milka, Angelina, and Marika, and an older brother named Dane, who was killed in a horse-riding accident when Tesla was aged 6 or 7. In 1861, Tesla attended primary school in Smiljan, where he studied German, arithmetic, and religion. In 1862, the Tesla family moved to the nearby town of Gospic, where Tesla's father worked as parish priest. Nikola completed primary school, followed by middle school. In 1870, Tesla moved to Karlovac to attend high school at the Higher Real Gymnasium, where the classes were held in German, as it was usual throughout schools within the Austro-Hungarian military frontier. Later in his patent applications, before he obtained American citizenship, Tesla would identify himself as of Smiljan, Lika, border country of Austria-Hungary. His father, Milutin, was an Orthodox priest in the village of Smiljan. Later wrote that he became interested in demonstrations of electricity by his physics professor. Tesla noted that these demonstrations of this mysterious phenomena made him want to know more of this wonderful force. Tesla was able to perform integral calculus in his head, which prompted his teachers to believe that he was cheating. He finished a 4-year term in 3 years, graduating in 1873. After graduating, Tesla returned to Smiljan but soon contracted cholera, was bedridden for 9 months, and was near death multiple times. In a moment of despair, Tesla's father, who had originally wanted him to enter the priesthood, promised to send him to the best engineering school if he recovered from the illness. Tesla later said that he had read Mark Twain's earlier works while recovering from his illness. The next year, Tesla evaded conscription into the Austro-Hungarian army in Smiljan by running away southeast of Lika to Tomingaj, near Gracak. There he explored the mountains wearing hunter's garb. Tesla said that this contact with nature made him stronger, both physically and mentally. He enrolled at the Imperial Royal Technical College in Graz in 1875 on a military frontier scholarship. Tesla passed 9 exams, nearly twice as many as required, and received a letter of commendation from the dean of the technical faculty to his father, which stated, "Your son is a star of first rank." At Graz, Tesla noted his fascination with the detailed lectures on electricity presented by Professor Jacob Possel and described how he made suggestions on improving the design of an electric motor the professor was demonstrating. But by his 3rd year, he was failing in school and never graduated, leaving Graz in December 1878. One biographer suggests Tesla was not studying and may have been expelled for gambling and womanizing. His family did not hear from him after he left school. There was a rumor among his classmates that he had drowned in the nearby River Mur, but in January one of them ran into Tesla in the town of Maribor and reported that encounter to Tesla's family. It turned out Tesla had been working there as a draftsman for 60 florins per month. In March 1879, Milutin finally located his son and tried to convince him to return home and take up his education in Prague. Tesla returned to Gospic later that month when he was deported for not having a residence permit. Tesla's father died the next month, on April 17, 1879, at the age of 60 after an unspecified illness. During the rest of the year, Tesla taught a large class of students in his old school in Gospic. In January 1880, 2 of Tesla's uncles put together enough money to help him leave Gospic for Prague, where he was to study. He arrived too late to enroll at Charles Ferdinand University. He had never studied Greek, a required subject, and he was illiterate in Czech, another required subject. Tesla did, however, attend lectures in philosophy at the university as an auditor, but he did not receive grades for the courses. Working at Budapest Telephone Exchange. Tesla moved to Budapest, Hungary, in 1881 to work under Tivadar Puskás at a telegraph company, the Budapest Telephone Exchange. Upon arrival, Tesla realized that the company, then under construction, was not functional, so he worked as a draftsman in the Central Telegraph Office instead. Within a few months, the Budapest Telephone Exchange became functional, and Tesla was allocated the chief electrician position. During his employment, Tesla made many improvements to the central station equipment and claimed to have perfected a telephone repeater or amplifier, which was never patented nor publicly described. Working at Edison. In 1882, Tivadar Puskás got Tesla another job in Paris with the Continental Edison Company. Tesla began working in what was then a brand new industry, installing indoor incandescent lighting citywide and large-scale electric power utility. The company had several subdivisions, and Tesla worked at the Société Électrique Edison, the division in the Ivry-sur-Seine suburb of Paris in charge of installing the lighting system. There he gained a great deal of practical experience in electrical engineering. Management took notice of his advanced knowledge in engineering and physics and soon had him designing and building improved versions of generating dynamos and motors. They also sent him on to troubleshoot engineering problems at other Edison utilities being built around France and in Germany. Moving to the United States. Edison Machine Works on Girk Street, New York. Tesla found the change from cosmopolitan Europe to working at this shop, located among the tenements on Manhattan's Lower East Side, a painful surprise. In 1884, Edison manager Charles Batchelor, who had been overseeing the Paris installation, was brought back to the United States to manage the Edison Machine Works, a manufacturing division situated in New York City, and asked that Tesla be brought to the United States as well. In June 1884, Tesla emigrated and began working almost immediately at the Machine Works on Manhattan's Lower East Side, an overcrowded shop with a workforce of several hundred machinists, laborers, managing staff, and 20 field engineers struggling with the task of building the large electric utility in that city. As in Paris, Tesla was working on troubleshooting installations and improving generators. Historian W. Bernard Carlson notes Tesla may have met company founder Thomas Edison only a couple of times. One of those times was noted in Tesla's autobiography where, after staying up all night repairing the damaged dynamos on the ocean liner SS Oregon, he ran into Batchelor and Edison, who made a quip about their Parisian being out all night. After Tesla told them he had been up all night fixing the Oregon, Edison commented to Batchelor that this is a damn good man. One of the projects given to Tesla was to develop an arc lamp-based street lighting system. Arc lighting was the most popular type of street lighting, but it required high voltages and was incompatible with the Edison low-voltage incandescent system, causing the company to lose contracts in some cities. Tesla's designs were never put into production, possibly because of technical improvements in incandescent street lighting or because of an installation deal that Edison made with an arc lighting company. Tesla had been working at the Machine Works for a total of 6 months when he quit. What event precipitated his leaving is unclear. It may have been over a bonus he did not receive either for redesigning generators or for the arc lighting system that was shelved. Tesla had previous run-ins with the Edison company over unpaid bonuses he believed he had earned. In his autobiography, Tesla stated the manager of the Edison Machine Works offered a $50,000 bonus to design 24 different types of standard machines, but it turned out to be a practical joke. Later versions of this story have Thomas Edison himself offering and then reneging on the deal, quipping, "Tesla, you don't understand our American humor." The size of the bonus in either story has been noted as odd, since Machine Works manager Batchelor was stingy with pay, and the company did not have that amount of cash, equal to $1,749,815 today, on hand. His diary contains just one comment on what happened at the end of his employment, a note he scrawled across the 2 pages covering December 7, 1884 to January 4, 1885. Saying goodbye to the Edison Machine Works. Tesla Electric Light and Manufacturing. After leaving the Edison company, Tesla was working on patenting an arc lighting system, possibly the same one he had developed at Edison. In March 1885, he met with patent attorney Lemuel W. Searle, the same attorney used by Edison, to obtain help with submitting the patents. Searle introduced Tesla to 2 businessmen, Robert Lane and Benjamin Vail, who agreed to finance an arc lighting manufacturing and utility company in Tesla's name, the Tesla Electric Light and Manufacturing Company. Tesla worked for the rest of the year obtaining the patents that included an improved DC generator, the first patents issued to Tesla in the US, and building and installing the system in Rahway, New Jersey. Tesla's new system gained notice in the technical press, which commented on its advanced features. The investors showed little interest in Tesla's ideas for new types of alternating current motors and electrical transmission equipment. After the utility was up and running in 1886, they decided that the manufacturing side of the business was too competitive and opted to simply run an electric utility. They formed a new utility company, abandoning Tesla's company and leaving the inventor penniless. Tesla even lost control of the patents he had generated, since he had assigned them to the company in exchange for stock. He had to work at various electrical repair jobs and as a ditch digger for $2 per day. Later in life, Tesla recounted that part of 1886 as a time of hardship, writing, "My high education in various branches of science, mechanics and literature seemed to me like a mockery." AC and the induction motor. drawing from U.S. Patent 381,968, illustrating the principle of Tesla's alternating current induction motor. In late 1886, Tesla met Alfred S. Brown, a Western Union superintendent, and New York attorney Charles Fletcher Peck. The two men were experienced in setting up companies and promoting inventions and patents for financial gain, based on Tesla's new ideas for electrical equipment, including a thermomagnetic motor idea. They agreed to back the inventor financially and handle his patents. Together they formed the Tesla Electric Company in April 1887, with an agreement that profits from generated patents would go 1/3 to Tesla, 1/3 to Peck and Brown, and 1/3 to fund development. They set up a laboratory for Tesla at 89 Liberty Street in Manhattan, where he worked on improving and developing new types of electric motors, generators, and other devices. In 1887, Tesla developed an induction motor that ran on alternating current, AC, a power system format that was rapidly expanding in Europe and the United States because of its advantages in long-distance, high-voltage transmission. The motor used polyphase current, which generated a rotating magnetic field to turn the motor, a principle that Tesla claimed to have conceived in 1882. This innovative electric motor, patented in May 1888, was a simple self-starting design that did not need a commutator, thus avoiding sparking and the high maintenance of constantly servicing and replacing mechanical brushes. With getting the motor patented, Peck and Brown arranged to get the motor publicized, starting with independent testing to verify it was a functional improvement, followed by press releases sent to technical publications for articles to run concurrently with the issue of the patent. Physicist William Arnold Anthony, who tested the motor, and Electrical World magazine editor Thomas Comerford Martin arranged for Tesla to demonstrate his AC motor on May 16, 1888 at the American Institute of Electrical Engineers. Engineers working for the Westinghouse Electric and Manufacturing Company reported to George Westinghouse that Tesla had a viable AC motor and related power system, something Westinghouse needed for the alternating current system he was already marketing. Westinghouse looked into getting a patent on a similar commutator-less, rotating magnetic field-based induction motor developed in 1885 and presented in a paper in March 1888 by Italian physicist Galileo Ferraris, but decided that Tesla's patent would probably control the market. Tesla's AC dynamo electric machine, AC electric generator, in an 1888 U.S. patent 390,721. In July 1888, Brown and Peck negotiated a licensing deal with George Westinghouse for Tesla's polyphase induction motor and transformer designs for $60,000 in cash and stock, and a royalty of $2.50 per AC horsepower produced by each motor. Westinghouse also hired Tesla for 1 year for the large fee of $2,000, $70,000 in today's dollars per month, to be a consultant at the Westinghouse Electric and Manufacturing Company's Pittsburgh labs. During that year, Tesla worked in Pittsburgh, helping to create an alternating current system to power the city's streetcars. He found it a frustrating period because of conflicts with the other Westinghouse engineers over how best to implement AC power. Between them, they settled on a 60-cycle AC system that Tesla proposed to match the working frequency of Tesla's motor, but they soon found that it would not work for streetcars, since Tesla's induction motor could run only at a constant speed. They ended up using a DC traction motor instead. Market turmoil. Tesla's demonstration of his induction motor and Westinghouse's subsequent licensing of the patent, both in 1888, came at the time of extreme competition between electric companies. The three big firms, Westinghouse, Edison, and Thomson-Houston Electric Company, were trying to grow in a capital-intensive business while financially undercutting each other. There was even a war of currents propaganda campaign going on, with Edison Electric claiming their direct current system was better and safer than the Westinghouse alternating current system, and Thomson-Houston sometimes siding with Edison. Competing in this market meant Westinghouse would not have the cash or engineering resources to develop Tesla's motor and the related polyphase system right away. 2 years after signing the Tesla contract, Westinghouse Electric was in trouble. The near collapse of Barings Bank in London triggered the financial panic of 1890, causing investors to call in their loans to Westinghouse Electric. The sudden cash shortage forced the company to refinance its debts. The new lenders demanded that Westinghouse cut back on what looked like excessive spending on acquisition of other companies, research, and patents, including the promoter royalty in the Tesla contract. At that point, the Tesla induction motor had been unsuccessful and was stuck in development. Westinghouse was paying a $15,000 a year guaranteed royalty even though operating examples of the motor were rare and polyphase power systems needed to run it were even rarer. In early 1891, George Westinghouse explained his financial difficulties to Tesla in stark terms, saying that, if he did not meet the demands of his lenders, he would no longer be in control of Westinghouse Electric and Tesla would have to deal with the bankers to try to collect future royalties. The advantages of having Westinghouse continue to champion the motor probably seemed obvious to Tesla, and he agreed to release the company from the royalty payment clause in the contract. 6 years later, Westinghouse purchased Tesla's patent for a lump sum payment of $216,000 as part of a patent-sharing agreement signed with General Electric, a company created from the 1892 merger of Edison and Thomson Houston. New York Laboratories. Mark Twain in Tesla's lab, 1894. Mark Twain in Tesla's South Fifth Avenue laboratory, 1894. The money Tesla made from licensing his AC patents made him independently wealthy and gave him the time and funds to pursue his own interests. In 1889, Tesla moved out of the Liberty Street shop Peck and Brown had rented and for the next dozen years worked out of a series of workshop/laboratory spaces in Manhattan. These included a lab at 175 Grand Street, 1889 to 1892, the fourth floor of 33 to 35 South Fifth Avenue, 1892 to 1895, and 6th and 7th floors of 46 and 48 East Houston Street, 1895 to 1902. Tesla and his hired staff conducted some of his most significant work in these workshops. Tesla coil. In the summer of 1889, Tesla traveled to the 1889 Exposition Universelle in Paris and learned of Heinrich Hertz's 1886 to 1888 experiments that proved the existence of electromagnetic radiation, including radio waves. In repeating and then expanding on these experiments, Tesla tried powering a Ruhmkorff coil with a high-speed alternator he had been developing as part of an improved arc lighting system, but found that the high-frequency current overheated the iron core and melted the insulation between the primary and secondary windings in the coil. To fix this problem, Tesla came up with his oscillating transformer, with an air gap instead of insulating material between the primary and secondary windings and an iron core that could be moved to different positions in or out of the coil, later called the Tesla coil. It would be used to produce high voltage, low current, high frequency alternating current electricity. He used this resonant transformer circuit in his later wireless power work. Citizenship. On July 30, 1891, aged 35, Tesla became a naturalized citizen of the United States. In the same year, he patented his Tesla coil. Wireless lighting. Tesla demonstrating wireless lighting by electrostatic induction during an 1891 lecture at Columbia College via two long Geissler tubes, similar to neon tubes, in his hands. After 1890, Tesla experimented with transmitting power by inductive and capacitive coupling using high AC voltages generated with his Tesla coil. He attempted to develop a wireless lighting system based on near-field inductive and capacitive coupling and conducted a series of public demonstrations where he lit Geissler tubes and even incandescent light bulbs from across a stage. He spent most of the decade working on variations of this new form of lighting with the help of various investors, but none of the ventures succeeded in making a commercial product out of his findings. In 1893, at St. Louis, Missouri, the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and the National Electric Light Association, Tesla told onlookers that he was sure a system like his could eventually conduct intelligible signals or perhaps even power to any distance without the use of wires by conducting it through the earth. Tesla served as a vice president of the American Institute of Electrical Engineers from 1892 to 1894, the forerunner of the modern-day IEEE, along with the Institute of Radio Engineers. Polyphase System and the Columbian Exposition. A Westinghouse display of the Tesla polyphase system at Chicago's 1893 Columbian Exposition. Beginning of 1893, Westinghouse engineer Charles F. Scott and then Benjamin G. Lamb had made progress on an efficient version of Tesla's induction motor. Lamb found a way to make the polyphase system it would need compatible with older single-phase AC and DC systems by developing a rotary converter. Westinghouse Electric now had a way to provide electricity to all potential customers and started branding their polyphase AC system as the Tesla polyphase system. They believed that Tesla's patents gave them patent priority over other polyphase AC systems. Westinghouse Electric asked Tesla to participate in the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago, where the company had a large space in the electricity building devoted to electrical exhibits. Westinghouse Electric won the bid to light the exposition with alternating current, and it was a key event in the history of AC power, as the company demonstrated to the American public the safety, reliability, and efficiency of an alternating current system that was polyphase and could also supply the other AC and DC exhibits at the fair. A special exhibit space was set up to display various forms and models of Tesla's induction motor. The rotating magnetic field that drove them was explained through a series of demonstrations, including an egg of Columbus that used the two-phase coil found in an induction motor to spin a copper egg, making it stand on end. Tesla visited the fair for a week during its 6-month run to attend the International Electrical Congress and put on a series of demonstrations at the Westinghouse exhibit. A specially darkened room had been set up where Tesla showed his wireless lighting system, using a demonstration he had previously performed throughout America and Europe. These included using high voltage, high-frequency alternating current to light wireless gas discharge lamps. An observer noted. Within the room were suspended 2 hard rubber plates covered with tin foil. These were about 15 feet apart and served as terminals of the wires leading from the transformers. When the current was turned on, the lamps or tubes, which had no wires connected to them, but lay on a table between the suspended plates, or which might be held in the hand in almost any part of the room, were made luminous. These were the same experiments and the same apparatus shown by Tesla in London about 2 years previous, where they produced so much wonder and astonishment. Steam-powered oscillating generator. During his presentation at the International Electrical Congress in the Columbian Exposition Agriculture Hall, Tesla introduced his steam-powered reciprocating electricity generator that he patented that year, something he thought was a better way to generate alternating current. Steam was forced into the oscillator and rushed out through a series of ports, pushing a piston up and down that was attached to an armature. The magnetic armature vibrated up and down at high speed, producing an alternating magnetic field. This induced alternating electric current in the wire coils located adjacent. It did away with the complicated parts of a steam engine/generator, but never caught on as a feasible engineering solution to generate electricity. Consulting on Niagara. In 1893, Edward Dean Adams, who headed the Niagara Falls Cataract Construction Company, sought Tesla's opinion on what system would be best to transmit power generated at the falls. Over several years, there had been a series of proposals and open competitions on how best to do it. Among the systems proposed by several U.S. and European companies were two-phase and three-phase AC, high-voltage DC, and compressed air. Adams asked Tesla for information about the current state of all the competing systems. Tesla advised Adams that a two-phased system would be the most reliable and that there was a Westinghouse system to light incandescent bulbs using two-phase alternating current. The company awarded a contract to Westinghouse Electric for building a two-phase AC generating system at the Niagara Falls, based on Tesla's advice and Westinghouse's demonstration at the Columbian Exposition. At the same time, a further contract was awarded to General Electric to build the AC distribution system. The Nikola Tesla Company. 1895, Edward Dean Adams, impressed with what he saw when he toured Tesla's lab, agreed to help found the Nikola Tesla Company, set up to fund, develop, and market a variety of previous Tesla patents and inventions as well as new ones. Alfred Brown signed on, bringing along patents developed under Peck and Brown. The board was filled out with William Birch Rankin and Charles F. Coney. It found few investors, since the mid-1890s were a tough time financially, and the wireless lighting and oscillators patents it was set up to market never panned out. The company handled Tesla's patents for decades to come. Lab fire. In the early morning hours of March 13, 1895, the South Fifth Avenue building that housed Tesla's lab caught fire. It started in the basement of the building and was so intense Tesla's fourth-floor lab burned and collapsed into the second floor. The fire not only set back Tesla's ongoing projects, but it also destroyed a collection of early notes and research material, models, and demonstration pieces, including many that had been exhibited at the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition. Tesla told the New York Times, "I am in too much grief to talk. What can I say?" After the fire, Tesla moved to 46 and 48 East Houston Street and rebuilt his lab on the 6th and 7th floors. X-ray experimentation. X-ray Tesla took of his hand. Starting in 1894, Tesla began investigating what he referred to as radiant energy of invisible kinds after he had noticed damaged film in his laboratory in previous experiments, later identified as Röntgen rays or X-rays. His early experiments were with Crookes tubes, a cold cathode electrical discharge tube. Tesla may have inadvertently captured an X-ray image, predating, by a few weeks, Wilhelm Röntgen's December 1895 announcement of the discovery of X-rays, when he tried to photograph Mark Twain illuminated by a Geissler tube, an earlier type of gas discharge tube. The only thing captured in the image was the metal locking screw on the camera lens. 1896, after hearing of Röntgen's discovery of X-ray and X-ray imaging, radiography, Tesla proceeded to do his own experiments in X-ray imaging, developing a high-energy single-terminal vacuum tube of his own design that had no target electrode and that worked from the output of the Tesla coil. The modern term for the phenomenon produced by this device is Bremsstrahlung or braking radiation. In his research, Tesla devised several experimental setups to produce X-rays. Tesla held that, with his circuits, the instrument will enable one to generate Röntgen rays of much greater power than obtainable with ordinary apparatus. Tesla noted the hazards of working with his circuit and single-node X-ray producing devices. In his many notes on the early investigation of this phenomenon, he attributed the skin damage to various causes. He believed early on that damage to the skin was not caused by the Röntgen rays, but by the ozone generated in contact with the skin, and to a lesser extent, by nitrous acid. Tesla incorrectly believed that X-rays were longitudinal waves, such as those produced in waves in plasmas. These plasma waves can occur in force-free magnetic fields. On July 11, 1934, the New York Herald Tribune published an article on Tesla, in which he recalled an event that occasionally took place while experimenting with his single-electrode vacuum tubes. A minute particle would break off the cathode, pass out of the tube, and physically strike him. Tesla said he could feel a sharp stinging pain where it entered his body, and again at the place where it passed out. In comparing these particles with the bits of metal projected by his electric gun, Tesla said, "The particles in the beam of force will travel much faster than such particles, and they will travel in concentrations." Radio remote control. In 1898, Tesla demonstrated a radio-controlled boat, which he hoped to sell as a guided torpedo to navies around the world. In 1898, Tesla demonstrated a boat that used a coherer-based radio control, which he dubbed Telautomaton, to the public during an electrical exhibition at Madison Square Garden. Tesla tried to sell his idea to the U.S. military as a type of radio-controlled torpedo, but they showed little interest. Remote radio control remained a novelty until World War I and afterward, when a number of countries used it in military programs. Tesla took the opportunity to further demonstrate teleautomatics in an address to a meeting of the Commercial Club in Chicago while he was traveling to Colorado Springs on May 13, 1899. Wireless power. Tesla sitting in front of a spiral coil used in his wireless power experiments at his East Houston ST laboratory. From the 1890s through 1906, Tesla spent a great deal of his time and fortune on a series of projects trying to develop the transmission of electrical power without wires. It was an expansion of his idea of using coils to transmit power that he had been demonstrating in wireless lighting. He saw this as not only a way to transmit large amounts of power around the world, but also, as he had pointed out in his earlier lectures, a way to transmit worldwide communications. At the time Tesla was formulating his ideas, there was no feasible way to wirelessly transmit communication signals over long distances, let alone large amounts of power. Tesla had studied radio waves early on, and came to the conclusion that part of the existing study on them, by Hertz, was incorrect. Also, this new form of radiation was widely considered at the time to be a short-distance phenomenon that seemed to die out in less than a mile. Tesla noted that, even if theories on radio waves were true, they were totally worthless for his intended purposes, since this form of invisible light would diminish over a distance just like any other radiation and would travel in straight lines right out into space, becoming hopelessly lost. By the mid-1890s, Tesla was working on the idea that he might be able to conduct electricity long distance through the Earth or the atmosphere, and began working on experiments to test this idea, including setting up a large resonance transformer magnifying transmitter in his East Houston street lab. Seeming to borrow from a common idea at the time that the Earth's atmosphere was conductive, he proposed a system composed of balloons suspending, transmitting, and receiving electrodes in the air above 30,000 feet, 9,100 meters, in altitude, where he thought the lower pressure would allow him to send high voltages, millions of volts, long distances. Colorado Springs. Tesla's Colorado Springs laboratory. To further study the conductive nature of low-pressure air, Tesla set up an experimental station at high altitude in Colorado Springs during 1899. There he could safely operate much larger coils than in the cramped confines of his New York lab, and an associate had made an arrangement for the El Paso Electric Light Company to supply alternating current free of charge. To fund his experiments, he convinced John Jacob Astor Ford to invest $100,000, $3,779,600 in today's dollars, to become a majority shareholder in the Nikola Tesla Company. Astor thought he was primarily investing in the new wireless lighting system. Instead, Tesla used the money to fund his Colorado Springs experiments. Upon his arrival, he told reporters that he planned to conduct wireless telegraphy experiments, transmitting signals from Pikes Peak to Paris. Multiple exposure picture of Tesla sitting next to his magnifying transmitter generating millions of volts. The 7-meter, 23 feet, long arcs were not part of the normal operation, but only produced for effect by rapidly cycling the power switch. He conducted experiments with a large coil operating in the megavolts range, producing artificial lightning and thunder, consisting of millions of volts and discharges of up to 135 feet, 41 meters, in length, and, at one point, inadvertently burned out the generator in El Paso, causing a power outage. The observations he made of the electronic noise of lightning strikes led him to, incorrectly, conclude that he could use the entire globe of the Earth to conduct electrical energy. His time at his laboratory, Tesla observed unusual signals from his receiver which he speculated to be communications from another planet. He mentioned them in a letter to a reporter in December 1899 and to the Red Cross Society in December 1900. Reporters treated it as a sensational story and jumped to the conclusion Tesla was hearing signals from Mars. He expanded on the signals he heard in a February 9, 1901 Collier's weekly article entitled Talking with Planets, where he said it had not been immediately apparent to him that he was hearing intelligently controlled signals and that the signals could have come from Mars, Venus, or other planets. It has been hypothesized that he may have intercepted Guglielmo Marconi's European experiments in July 1899. Marconi may have transmitted the letter S, ... In a naval demonstration, the same three impulses that Tesla hinted at hearing in Colorado, or signals from another experimenter in wireless transmission. Had an agreement with the editor of the Century magazine to produce an article on his findings. The magazine sent a photographer to Colorado to photograph the work being done there. The article, titled The Problem of Increasing Human Energy, appeared in the June 1900 edition of the magazine. He explained the superiority of the wireless system he envisioned, but the article was more of a lengthy philosophical treatise than an understandable scientific description of his work, illustrated with what were to become iconic images of Tesla and his Colorado Springs experiments. Wardenclyffe. Tesla's Wardenclyffe plant on Long Island in 1904. From this facility, Tesla hoped to demonstrate wireless transmission of electrical energy across the Atlantic. Tesla made the rounds in New York trying to find investors for what he thought would be a viable system of wireless transmission, wining and dining them at the Waldorf Astoria's Palm Garden, the hotel where he was living at the time, the Players Club, and Delmonico's. In March 1901, he obtained $150,000, $5,669,400 in today's dollars, from J.P. Morgan in return for a 51% share of any generated wireless patents, and began planning the Wardenclyffe Tower facility to be built in Shoreham, New York, 100 miles, 161 kilometers east of the city on the north shore of Long Island. By July 1901, Tesla had expanded his plans to build a more powerful transmitter to leap ahead of Marconi's radio-based system, which Tesla thought was a copy of his own. He approached Morgan to ask for more money to build the larger system, but Morgan refused to supply any further funds. In December 1901, Marconi successfully transmitted the letter S from England to Newfoundland, defeating Tesla in the race to be first to complete such a transmission. A month after Marconi's success, Tesla tried to get Morgan to back an even larger plan to transmit messages and power by controlling vibrations throughout the globe. Over the next 5 years, Tesla wrote more than 50 letters to Morgan, pleading for and demanding additional funding to complete the construction of Wardenclyffe. Tesla continued the project for another 9 months into 1902. The tower was erected to its full height of 187 feet, 57 meters. In June 1902, Tesla moved his lab operations from Houston Street to Wardenclyffe. Investors on Wall Street were putting their money into Marconi's system, and some in the press began turning against Tesla's project, claiming it was a hoax. The project came to a halt in 1905, and in 1906, the financial problems and other events may have led to what Tesla biographer Mark J. Cypher suspects was a nervous breakdown on Tesla's part. Tesla mortgaged the Wardenclyffe property to cover his debts at the Waldorf Astoria, which eventually amounted to $20,000. $627,800 in today's dollars. He lost the property in foreclosure in 1915, and in 1917 the tower was demolished by the new owner to make the land a more viable real estate asset. Later years. After Wardenclyffe closed, Tesla continued to write to Morgan. After the great man died, Tesla wrote to Morgan's son Jack, trying to get further funding for the project. In 1906, Tesla opened offices at 165 Broadway in Manhattan, trying to raise further funds by developing and marketing his patents. He went on to have offices at the Metropolitan Life Tower from 1910 to 1914, rented for a few months at the Woolworth Building, moving out because he could not afford the rent, and then to office space at 8 West 40th Street from 1915 to 1925. After moving to 8 West 40th Street, he was effectively bankrupt. Most of his patents had run out and he was having trouble with the new inventions he was trying to develop. Nobel Prize rumors. On November 6, 1915, a Reuters news agency report from London had the 1915 Nobel Prize in Physics awarded to Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla. However, on November 15, a Reuters story from Stockholm stated the prize that year was being awarded to William Henry Bragg and Lawrence Bragg for their services in the analysis of crystal structure by means of X-rays. There were unsubstantiated rumors at the time that either Tesla or Edison had refused the prize. The Nobel Foundation said, any rumor that a person has not been given a Nobel Prize because he has made known his intention to refuse the reward is ridiculous. A recipient could decline a Nobel Prize only after he is announced a winner. There have been subsequent claims by Tesla biographers that Edison and Tesla were the original recipients and that neither was given the award because of their animosity toward each other, that each sought to minimize the other's achievements and right to win the award, that both refused ever to accept the award if the other received it first, that both rejected any possibility of sharing it, and even that a wealthy Edison refused it to keep Tesla from getting the $20,000 prize money. In the years after these rumors, neither Tesla nor Edison won a Nobel Prize, although Edison received one of 38 possible bids in 1915 and Tesla received one of 38 possible bids in 1937. Tesla attempted to market several devices based on the production of ozone. These included his 1900 Tesla Ozone Company selling an 1896 patented device based on his Tesla coil, used to bubble ozone through different types of oils to make a therapeutic gel. He also tried to develop a variation of this a few years later as a room sanitizer for hospitals. Tesla theorized that the application of electricity to the brain enhanced intelligence. In 1912, he crafted the plan to make dull students bright by saturating them unconsciously with electricity, wiring the walls of a schoolroom and saturating the schoolroom with infinitesimal electric waves vibrating at high frequency. The whole room will thus, Mr. Tesla claims, be converted into a health-giving and stimulating electromagnetic field or bath. The plan was, at least provisionally, approved by then Superintendent of New York City Schools, William H. Maxwell. Before World War I, Tesla sought overseas investors. After the war started, Tesla lost the funding he was receiving from his patents in European countries. In the August 1917 edition of the magazine Electrical Experimenter, Tesla postulated that electricity could be used to locate submarines via using the reflection of an electric ray of tremendous frequency, with the signal being viewed on a fluorescent screen, a system that has been noted to have a superficial resemblance to modern radar. Tesla was incorrect in his assumption that high-frequency radio waves would penetrate water. Émile Girardot, who helped develop France's first radar system in the 1930s, noted in 1953 that Tesla's general speculation that a very strong high-frequency signal would be needed was correct. Girardot said, Tesla was prophesying or dreaming, since he had at his disposal no means of carrying them out, but one must add that if he was dreaming, at least he was dreaming correctly. In 1928, Tesla received patent, U.S. Patent 1,655,114, for a biplane design capable of vertical takeoff and landing, VTOL, which gradually tilted through manipulation of the elevator devices in flight until it was flying like a conventional plane. This impractical design was something Tesla thought would sell for less than $1,000. Tesla had a further office at 350 Madison Avenue, but by 1928 he no longer had a laboratory or funding. Living circumstances. Tesla lived at the Waldorf Astoria in New York City from 1900 and ran up a large bill. He moved to the St. Regis Hotel in 1922 and followed a pattern from then on of moving to a different hotel every few years and leaving unpaid bills behind. Tesla walked to the park every day to feed the pigeons. He began feeding them at the window of his hotel room and nursed injured birds back to health. He said that he had been visited by a certain injured white pigeon daily. He spent over $2,000, equivalent to $37,570 in 2024, to care for the bird, including a device he built to support her comfortably while her broken wing and leg healed. Tesla stated, I have been feeding pigeons, thousands of them, for years. But there was one, a beautiful bird, pure white with light gray tips on its wings. That one was different. It was a female. I had only to wish and call her, and she would come flying to me. I loved that pigeon as a man loves a woman, and she loved me. As long as I had her, there was a purpose to my life. Tesla's unpaid bills, as well as complaints about the mess made by pigeons, led to his eviction from St. Regis in 1923. He was also forced to leave the Hotel Pennsylvania in 1930 and the Hotel Governor Clinton in 1934. At one point, he also took rooms at the Hotel Marguerite. Tesla moved to the Hotel New Yorker in 1934. At this time, Westinghouse Electric and Manufacturing Company began paying him $125, equivalent to $2,940 in 2024, per month, in addition to paying his rent. Accounts of how this came about vary. Several sources claimed that Westinghouse was concerned, or possibly warned, about potential bad publicity arising from the impoverished conditions in which their former star inventor was living. The payment has been described as being couched as a consulting fee to get around Tesla's aversion to accepting charity. Tesla biographer Mark Seifer described the Westinghouse payments as a type of unspecified settlement. Birthday press conferences. In 1931, a young journalist whom Tesla befriended, Kenneth M. Sweezy, organized a celebration for the inventor's 75th birthday. Tesla received congratulations from figures in science and engineering such as Albert Einstein, and he was also featured on the cover of Time magazine. The cover caption, "All the world's his powerhouse," noted his contribution to electrical power generation. The party went so well that Tesla made it an annual event, an occasion where he would put out a large spread of food and drink, featuring dishes of his own creation. He invited the press in order to see his inventions and hear stories about his past exploits, views on current events, and sometimes baffling claims. Newspaper representation of the thought camera Tesla described it as 1933 birthday party. At the 1932 party, Tesla claimed he had invented a motor that would run on cosmic rays. In 1933, at age 77, Tesla told reporters at the event that, after 35 years of work, he was on the verge of producing proof of a new form of energy. He claimed it was a theory of energy that was violently opposed to Einsteinian physics and could be tapped with an apparatus that would be cheap to run and last 500 years. He also told reporters he was working on a way to transmit individualized private radio wavelengths, working on breakthroughs in metallurgy, and developing a way to photograph the retina to record thought. At the 1934 occasion, Tesla told reporters he had designed a superweapon he claimed would end all war. He called it Teleforce, but was usually referred to as his death ray. In 1940, the New York Times gave a range for the ray of 250 miles, 400 kilometers, with an expected development cost of $2 million, equivalent to $44.89 million in 2024. Tesla described it as a defensive weapon that would be put up along the border of a country and be used against attacking ground-based infantry or aircraft. Tesla never revealed detailed plans of how the weapon worked during his lifetime, but in 1984, they surfaced at the Nikola Tesla Museum archive in Belgrade. The treatise, The New Art of Projecting Concentrated Non-Dispersive Energy Through the Natural Media, described an open-ended vacuum tube with a gas jet seal that allows particles to exit, a method of charging slugs of tungsten or mercury to millions of volts and directing them in streams through electrostatic repulsion. Tesla tried to attract interest of the U.S. War Department, United Kingdom, Soviet Union, and Yugoslavia in the device. In 1935, at his 79th birthday party, Tesla covered many topics. He claimed to have discovered the cosmic ray in 1896 and invented a way to produce direct current by induction, and made many claims about his mechanical oscillator. Describing the device, which he expected would earn him $100 million within 2 years, he told reporters that a version of his oscillator had caused an earthquake in his 46 East Houston Street lab and neighboring streets in Lower Manhattan in 1898. He went on to tell reporters his oscillator could destroy the Empire State Building with 5 pounds, 2.3 kilograms of air pressure. He also proposed using his oscillators to transmit vibrations into the ground. He claimed it would work over any distance and could be used for communication or locating underground mineral deposits, a technique he called telegeodynamics. In 1937, at his Grand Ballroom of Hotel New Yorker event, Tesla received the Order of the White Lion from the Czechoslovak ambassador and a medal from the Yugoslav ambassador. On questions concerning the death ray, Tesla stated, "But it is not an experiment. I have built, demonstrated, and used it. Only a little time will pass before I can give it to the world." Death. Commemorative plaque, New Yorker Hotel. In the fall of 1937, at the age of 81, after midnight one night, Tesla left the Hotel New Yorker to make his regular commute to the cathedral and library to feed the pigeons. While crossing a street a couple of blocks from the hotel, Tesla was struck by a moving taxicab and was thrown to the ground. His back was severely wrenched and 3 of his ribs were broken in the accident. The full extent of his injuries was never known. Tesla refused to consult a doctor, an almost lifelong custom, and never fully recovered. On January 7, 1943, at the age of 86, Tesla died alone in room 3327 of the Hotel New Yorker. His body was found by maid Alice Monahan when she entered Tesla's room, ignoring the "Do Not Disturb" sign that Tesla had placed on his door 2 days earlier. Assistant Medical Examiner H.W. Wembley examined the body and ruled that the cause of death had been coronary thrombosis, a type of heart attack. 2 days later, the Federal Bureau of Investigation ordered the alien property custodian to seize Tesla's belongings. John G. Trump, a professor at MIT and a well-known electrical engineer serving as a technical aide to the National Defense Research Committee, was called in to analyze the Tesla items. After a 3-day investigation, Trump's report concluded that there was nothing which would constitute a hazard in unfriendly hands, stating, his, Tesla's, thoughts and efforts during at least the past 15 years were primarily of a speculative, philosophical, and somewhat promotional character, often concerned with the production and wireless transmission of power, but did not include new, sound, workable principles or methods for realizing such results. In a box purported to contain a part of Tesla's death ray, Trump found a 45-year-old multi-decade resistance box. On January 10, 1943, New York City Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia read a eulogy written by Slovene-American author Louis Adamic live over WNYC radio while violin pieces Ave Maria and Tomo Delico were played in the background. On January 12, 2,000 people attended a state funeral for Tesla at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine in Manhattan. After the funeral, Tesla's body was taken to the Ferncliff Cemetery in Ardsley, New York, where it was later cremated. The following day, a second service was conducted by prominent priests in the Trinity Chapel, today's Serbian Orthodox Cathedral of St. Sava, in New York City. Hundreds filed into New York City's Cathedral of St. John the Divine for his funeral services, and a flood of messages acknowledged the loss of a great genius. 3 Nobel Prize recipients addressed their tribute to one of the outstanding intellects of the world who paved the way for many of the technological developments of modern times. How Marconi stole the radio patent from Tesla, and how justice was finally served. Nikola Tesla, one of the greatest inventors of all time, was the true pioneer of radio technology. By the late 19th century, Tesla had already demonstrated wireless communication and patented his crucial inventions related to radio transmission. However, history often remembers Guglielmo Marconi as the inventor of radio because he successfully commercialized the technology and, for years, held the credit that rightfully belonged to Tesla. Tesla's contributions to radio technology were groundbreaking. In the 1890s, he conducted experiments on wireless transmission, using his Tesla coil to send signals across distances. In 1897, he was awarded U.S. Patent number 645,576 and number 649,621 for his radio transmission system, which laid the foundation for modern radio. Meanwhile, Marconi was also working on wireless communication, but his early devices relied heavily on Tesla's patented technology. Marconi, with financial backing from powerful figures like Thomas Edison and Andrew Carnegie, was able to refine his wireless system and make the first successful transatlantic radio transmission in 1901. However, his achievement was built on a foundation of Tesla's work. In 1904, the U.S. Patent Office inexplicably reversed its earlier decision and granted Marconi a patent for radio, effectively stripping Tesla of his recognition. Marconi then used this patent to build a telecommunications empire, winning the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1909. Tesla, despite being aware of the injustice, lacked the financial resources to fight a lengthy legal battle against Marconi. However, fate had a twist in store. In 1943, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Tesla's favor, restoring his patents and officially recognizing him as the true inventor of radio. The decision came partly because Marconi had sued the U.S. government for using his patents during World War I. In response, the Supreme Court reviewed the case and found that Tesla's patents predated Marconi's claims. Unfortunately, this victory came too late for Tesla, who had died a few months earlier in poverty and obscurity. While Marconi remains the celebrated figure, history has since corrected the record, and Tesla is now widely acknowledged as the true pioneer of radio technology. His story serves as a reminder that genius is not always rewarded in its own time, but truth has a way of prevailing in the end.